Let's talk about it right now. We are AT&T. I'm Courtney with Cowboys Nation.
What is up? Welcome to another edition of Tag Nation. It's your boy Mike Tag with Jimmy D. We're gonna hit it. We're gonna get this thing started. It's been a slow sports week, but before we hit it, just make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. If you're watching live, leave some comments. Let's interact a little bit. But more importantly, if you're driving, you can also catch us on Spotify. And you obviously follow us on Twitter. You got the Twitter handle below. We're updating some stuff, trying to make it a little bit more professional. And Instagram, we got a Facebook page, Tag Nation. So there's nowhere you can't find us. Also, if you need a hype video, your boy will get you straightened out on Cameo. So let's get this party started. Jimmy D, what's happening with you? How you feeling today?
I'm still trying to recover from a bachelor party from Friday night. One of my close relatives, a cousin of mine, we had a bachelor party at it was Portuguese style, and I never been to one of those, and it was a lot of fun. PG, it was PG-13, so nothing crazy, but man, they could throw some drinks back, and I can, so
yeah, it was
it was just a good time.
Well, you're enjoying yourself, so I'll tell you a quick story. So we have a ritual on Friday nights. We got the 505 Club. We go up to the local pizzeria and bar, and we sit on the patio. We have some drinks and enjoy ourselves, and then we kind of stroll on over to this dive bar that's close to our house, and you just never know what's going to go in there. It's good people watching, but it's a lot of fun. So we were there Friday night, and we were sitting outside because sometimes they allow smoking in there. It can get a little smoky, so we were sitting outside having drinks, my wife and a friend of mine, and these two young couples come, guy and girl come waltzing out, and they're making out, and she's all over him, he's all over her, and it's like man back in the day in the club, and the bartender walks out to refill our drinks, and she goes, "Now, which one of you guys want to go tell her that he just got done puking in the bathroom on a shot of tequila he took?" Man, I was dying. I was like, somebody go get that girl a mint, some chewing gum or something. But I was like, man, I'm not saying nothing. We just looked and laughed. But those are the highlights as you get older in age, and there's no football season, and sports is kind of at a lull. You look for these kind of stories to get you pumped up and have a good time. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I always look forward to it. But yeah, so it's been a quiet sports week. Not a whole lot going on in the NFL where everyone's getting prepped up for the draft. So we are going to have a great draft special next Monday. We got my boy Jay Tuck's going to come on. He does all the work on the draft, man. He puts it out. So if you're not following him or subscribe to him on Twitter and also subscribe to him on YouTube, you need to definitely check out CFO Sports. He knows what he's talking about. So he's going to be coming on. We'll have some interaction. We'll hopefully get some questions, and we'll be heavy on the Cowboys because that's just the way it is. But we'll mix in the Falcons. He was loving Kyle Pitts, so he's got some love for the Falcons, and we'll see what you guys are going to do. But it was interesting to see. They had a little trade. I don't know if you saw it. It was kind of happened last minute between the Eagles and the Saints. The Eagles gave up a first-round draft pick this year for one of Saints next year. So they both have 2 first-round draft picks going on this year. So that'll you're starting to see some of that draft stuff going on. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more going before the draft.
Already, man. What that just happened? How long ago?
Yeah, like within the last hour. It was, it makes sense for the Eagles. I think it's a good. My son said the Eagles got beat on the trade, but I think it was a fair trade for them because they spread it out. They had 3 picks, now they're down to 2. They kind of can one in the next year. Maybe the Saints, they don't look like they're going to be that great on paper this year. We'll see what happens. So they might end up with a good pick. As a Cowboys fan, I don't like that. So, but.
I hope the Saints aren't doing that well this year. I'll be okay.
that'll be better for you. But the only Cowboys stuff we really talk about, obviously, we touched on Wagner last week. We said that wasn't going to happen. Stephen Jones already kiboshed that, so you see he signs to the Rams, and it's one of those things where we say the rich keep getting richer, and you wonder about this salary cap. He signed, what was it, a 5-year, $50 million, could be $65 million. I didn't see where the guaranteed money was, so I'm not sure how front loaded it is. Maybe it's only a 2 or 3 year deal, really. But I think it's a good move. It's a good move for the Rams. And you see Xavier Howard, with the Dolphins, they kind of redid his deal, added some guaranteed money. So I think he's got the most guaranteed money as a cornerback under contract. So you see these teams making moves, and the Cowboys just kind of we like our guys, and I like our guys too. Don't get me wrong, but I think they put a lot of pressure on the draft to hit home runs, and we've been very fortunate. We've had some nice picks in later rounds that have contributed right away, but I don't know if you can constantly rely on that for instant starters or instant impact. So they've had an opportunity. There's still a couple guys out there, Honey Badgers. Every free agent they talk about going to Dallas, but I just don't see any of that happening.
No, and it's funny because I saw some stuff on Twitter, some Cowboys fans, with WrestleMania being in Dallas this past week, and there's more WWE guys on the Star than there were free agents invited in to the Star. And it's kind of sad because, again, you guys had the money. You guys could have gotten Wagner, no problem. And I'm scratching my head on that. I can't talk because of Falcon. We don't have money. I mean, we're strapped until next season, so I'll be able to talk a little bit more next season and bitch a little bit about moves or moves we didn't make next season. But we can't do anything. You guys have the dough to do it. So
and I think we're in a win now where I think you guys, you lost your quarterback. You guys are kind of getting everything going. You want to hopefully either reload. No one likes to use the word rebuild. You want to reload, but the question was posed: are we better now than we were last year? And if you're honest with yourself as a fan, the draft isn't done, so we'll see what happens there. Free agency really isn't done, but if you're looking at today, I think the Cowboys are worse than they were, worse than they were last season. Now they'll get Jabril Cox back. They didn't have him. Then you say, well, maybe Micah Parsons takes a step up. Maybe he'll, these other guys kind of get going, and so the team could be better. CD's just another year, and so we'll see. But I just it'll be interesting to see what happens. I just wish they would have made some moves to take that win now approach, and they haven't done it. They've kind of stayed the path of re-signing some of their own that they want, and then building through the draft.
I thought you guys were trying to get Parker from the Dolphins, weren't you? And he ended up in New England. Is that accurate?
Now every person is tied to Dallas. So it was Parker, and now they're talking about Brown, coming to Dallas, and there's every free agent is always being talked about. And some of the things, Pat Lawson, D-end out of South Carolina, would be a great fit. I'm not sure if that's the player that I would be looking for. Jimmy, you're more familiar with that player, but it's a joke, guys. Just kidding. Our friends like to crack, and they use our family members' names as saying that they should play. More importantly, they use our moms. So anyway,
and you guys might notice sometimes on Twitter I'll say Danny's mom. So now you guys get the reference.
Yeah. So we're just having fun with that. But anyway, and then I got into a little bit of not a debate, but something that always happens, in Cowboys Nation is the quarterback is the polarizing figure. And I've dealt with this with Troy Aikman, even going back to Danny White, but I was too young to really understand it. But Troy Aikman was there, Tony Romo, and now you have Dak. And there's a underappreciation for the quarterback. And, someone had made a point of look at Dak's record in against teams that are over 500, and he doesn't have a winning record. Well, point taken. But if you really look at it, only 3 active quarterbacks, correct me if I'm wrong, but 3 active quarterbacks in the NFL have winning records against teams over 500. And that's, Tom Brady, It's Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers doesn't, you know.
Right.
And Dak, if you do the ranking, he's ranked in the top 10 winning percentage against teams over 500 for active quarterbacks. He was 5-4 last year against teams with a 500, with over 500 record. But they'll change the narrative. You can make the narrative whatever you want it to be, but the media runs with it. So a lot of fans get sucked into it. And it's like I said, do I think Dak's the best quarterback in the NFL? No, but he's not our problem, and he's more than capable of leading this team to a Super Bowl.
Well, I think, again, it gets back to offensive play calling, but you guys lost 2 receivers. So when you talk about, are you better off now than you were a month ago? No. Let's say you get some people through the draft. It gets back to leadership in the locker room. You want that veteran leadership. People have been there, and that's a problem.
No, there's no experience that have championship, that championship experience, and that's where I thought Wagner would have brought it in. Honey Badger, obviously he's been successful. He's got a Super Bowl ring, so you'd hope that the Joneses would see that. And there was a time where they really valued that, and they did bring in some key free agents, years past. Obviously, Charles Haley being the most, well-known one that kind of put that team over the top. And I talked about it last week. It's very similar to me of getting that person to kind of get this team, because they are young. We've got a lot of talent. I mean, as long as you got, Micah Parsons, and you got Tank, and you got Diggs, at each level of that defense, you got playmakers on defense, and you've got Dak, you got CD, the offensive line, they got to retool. Zeke's been injured. Maybe his better days are behind him. Maybe they're not, but, you got Pollard. We'll see what happens with the run game. If we can get that line straight, we'll see. But it's always, it's just drama. But I feel bad for Dak. I feel bad, and I've been pretty honest and upfront. That playoff game against the Niners, that fell on him, and I made no bones about it. He had to play better in that game, and he played better in the end. But that first half, he sucked it up. Along with some other people. It takes more than one person, but I think he'll get, I think he's taking them steps, and, he's coming off a big injury, and I expect him to take another step next year with the hope that they do replace a couple pieces that they've lost around him.
But he takes it to the other level of the game.
And do it like a Geo. So,
do it like a Geo.
No. But some fun news in my town, of course, Tampa Bay. There was obviously Arians had resigned, and he took a job in the front office, and they promoted Todd Bowles, who is a great defensive coordinator. He was head coach with the Jets. Didn't have a lot of success there, but I mean, you're with the Jets. Who the hell? You can't really blame anybody for that. Anyway. So it'll be interesting. But the question was posed: was this a Brady call, or was Arians, decided to leave? And I find it hard to believe, and I live here, so I hear it, that why Bruce Arians getting Brady back, getting these guys back would say, yeah, I think I'm just going to go ahead and call it a day, and I'll take a front office job, so to speak.
Was it? Now that's a question. Was it Brady? I mean, because again, why do you wait through free agency, after free agency, and then all of a sudden you're ready to hang him up? That's something that somebody does a week or two after the season. You know what? I got to the pinnacle. Get to the pinnacle. What do you do for a living? And he brought the Super Bowl home to Tampa. That's the time you retire, or not retire, but you step away and move to the front office. Do you think that there's some sort of triangle there, maybe with the whole Antonio Brown situation, that something that kind of festered out of that?
No, I think Brady has always – I think they've had a rift, Arians and Brady, because Arians was critical of Brady publicly in a couple losses, and maybe true. Brady's ego, and he didn't like that. But they did have a rift, and it was interesting that Brady did, retire, and then some time has passed, and then Brady came back. You really didn't see the Bucs making any moves on a quarterback, and then shortly after that, Arians says, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and I'll step down and take a front office job, so to speak. I doubt he's there. They're playing nice, and they're saying everything, all the right things. And hey, maybe it is. What the hell do I know? But it just doesn't smell right to me.
That's right. It's, and it's funny because, and again, if this was Dallas, this would be blowing up all week, right?
Mm-hmm.
To your point, it's always something with the media, kind of like the Yankees. Everything blows up on us. But they are just quiet, like, okay, crickets. All right,
Yeah.
he's in the front office, great, it's awesome. And you don't hear much of the what happened there, right?
Yeah. No,
They really didn't get much into it.
They talk more about, the Cowboys were, the whole, Bobby Wagner. Now it's, DK Metcalf, is Dallas going to be? They're not going to. If they let Cooper go, there's no way they'd bring in Metcalf. He's not as good a receiver as Cooper. He's going to want more money than Cooper. So that would not make any sense. It just wouldn't be logical, looking at it now. If he came, hey, shit, I'd be happy. I want anyone who can help us win, help our offense get better. So I welcome any talent to the team. And it's just like I always say, when the time comes, we can always be critical and we can always do this. But, when the season starts, I'm all in on the Cowboys. Whoever the roster is, I'm all in on them. If you're not on the roster, no hard feelings. If you're gone, you left the cave temporarily until you retire, then maybe I'll allow you to come back in. But you can see I've done a little work on that side. There it is. I got Des Bryant. He's no longer, there was always rumors he may go to the Saints, this and that. So he went ahead and seems like he's done. So I allowed him back in the cave. So he got a spot on the wall. I love number 88. He had to be in the 88 club, so he's got to get it. So that's how it works. So and that's the way it is. I tell people with fans, I'm a fan of the team. I don't take, players. I don't take things personal if they left. Gregory, hey, you wanted to go to Denver? Have at it, man. Wish you the best, but hopefully it doesn't work out well for you.
It's the it's the business of sports, man. It is. So I was just reading something. The Yankees acquired another pitcher. Sorry. So anyway, yeah, it's just the business of sports, and you can't blame a guy. Now you take. Well, I got angry a few weeks ago with the Falcons and Matt Ryan. I understand why they were doing what they did to free up money for next season. But I mean, he's and arguably in your eyes, he's the best player the Falcons have ever had.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, a hell of a quarterback, still a hell of a quarterback, but they just screwed him. And they, put everything out there in the open with Deshaun Watson, burned the bridge. And that's why I got pissed off. That wasn't a Matty Ice call. That was a front office call on our part. So that pissed me off. So I blame the Falcons on that. But like you said, opening day, I'll be, room for the Falcons. I don't care, Mariota, whoever it is. That's who I'll be rooting.
Yeah. So, but hopefully, we'll get things going. But this is a lull in the football action. So, but definitely check out next Monday. We're going to have our draft talk, and we're going to be breaking things down a little bit more. So,
I needed to bring up one other thing about the NFL. So, the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, yeah.
Who are getting and we made this clear. We don't talk politics or social, so that's not the route I'm going here. But the Bills got a lot of money from New York State. Okay. $850 million from the state of New York, from my taxpayer money, right, to go build a new stadium out in that Puke Fest cattle field out in Orchard Park. Here's the problem. I looked at a few different sources just to make sure it wasn't some, random article. All of a sudden, $800 million that was going to Child Protective Services and to help kids is no longer in the budget. 800 million's gone there, but 850 is going out west to the Buffalo Bills. So, when UBS Arena was built for the Islanders, completely privately funded. When MSG renovated a few years ago, completely privately funded. 100% of this bill is publicly funded, whether it's the state or Erie County. So the thing is, first of all, they're pulling food from the mouths of kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're not helping, the welfare of the kids are at stake. The Pagulas, who are the owners of the Bills, are basking down in the South Florida sun. What are you guys doing? Why don't you get your asses back here and take care of your financial business?
I don't disagree, but it's the world of big business, and the funny story always is the Cowboys. I did that tour of the new stadium, and hopefully I'm not messing it up, but basically the city or the county, whatever it was, gave the land to the Joneses. They built the stadium, whatever, but they gave them the land to do it, right?
Okay.
So they dug out, if you ever been to the stadium, when you go, it drops down. So they dug all the dirt out. Well, he then took the dirt and sold it back to the county so they can for their transportation and build road, for the roads. So I mean, it's just like government should not be running any business, should not be involved in any of that stuff, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. They're not. That's not their place. They're gonna get chewed up and spit out by any smart businessman. And for the Bills, they've been hanging, moving, and the threats, over that city.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing I'll say is, we joke about Buffalo, but it's a blue collar town. The fans are very loyal. I mean, God, they practically kill themselves every tailgate party to show their love for their team. But I mean, they're great fans, and they deserve their football team. And nothing hurts more than seeing, these teams get, rip themselves and leave these cities and leave all these fans stranded that are passionate fans. You saw it happen with the Colts in Baltimore and the Browns and all that. Well, the Raiders, they moved so much that the fans are used to that. I don't even think they really even cared. But I'm happy that they got a stadium. A football team's gonna be just like San Diego. The Chargers don't belong in LA. They belong in San Diego. They have no business being LA. LA don't want them. They don't care about them. It's a home game for the other team. There's people in San Diego, but the government, the people in charge there said, we're not footing the bill for the stadium, so they left.
Well, but my big thing is, again, the Pagulas are tax sheltering down in Florida, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what I want to do me a favor, stay down in Florida and get out of my face.
But yeah, so it's big business, man. They run it, but
It is.
But talking, changing the gears a little bit is, I know you don't follow the NCAA that much, college, in any sports, so you may not have a lot to say, but I watched the Final Four. I'm not a diehard basketball fan. I think people who know me, my passion is the NFL, it's the Cowboys, it's college football, Miami Hurricanes. So that's where it's at. But I love competition. I love tournaments. I love playoffs. So whenever it's time for the playoffs, that's when I really get into it. March Madness is one of my favorite tournaments and playoff runs. And thankfully Miami had a little bit of a run, but they went up against a buzzsaw in Kansas, and they put it on them pretty good. So you had the Final Four, and yeah, a lot of people wanted Duke to lose. I mean, when you're successful, there's always going to be hate. But Coach K, he's been a coach as long as I think we were probably alive. So I don't know any other coach at Duke besides Coach K, and he's done a great job. And that was probably one of the best basketball games I've seen in a long time. I think there was 20 lead changes. It came down to the end. A couple of Duke guys missed some crucial free throws, at crunch time, and North Carolina, came away with the victory. And it was kind of like, fitting that the number, that was the biggest rivalry in Carolina, North Carolina, Duke, and North Carolina put an end to Coach K and Duke. And I think, Hubert Davis, I remember him from the Knicks, is the coach in North Carolina. So, I figured you at least, you'd be happy about that. Maybe you're rooting for North Carolina tonight, but they got their hands full with Kansas, because Kansas, they dominated in their game, and I haven't seen them in much trouble in the games that I've watched. So I think North Carolina is going to be in trouble, but it should be a lot of fun tonight.
Well, and the thing is, like I said last week, just because it is Coach K at that point, I was rooting for them. But with Hubert Davis, again, beloved, Nick, former Nick, and I'm a huge Knicks fan, and actually a star from one of our crank calls we did back in the days to a nationally known syndicated radio show. Yeah, it would be nice to see him win. He was always a beloved Nick, really good shooter, really good, field goal percentage. So, hey, I'd like to see him win. And again, I don't know really anything about, I just know the names. I don't know much about college sports.
Yeah. They got to play their best game, in my opinion. They're going to have to play their very best game, and I think they just got to hope that Kansas is off a little bit, because they just seem like they're just steamrolling. But it's the beauty of this tournament. You just got to be hot that one night. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not a
that's
best
it.
of 7. It's not a best of 5. You just got to be better on that day, and that's what's when you see those Cinderella teams, making it to Sweet 16 or Elite 8, or even sometimes some got down to the Final Four. It's always a kind of a cool story to see that. But I think the St. Peter's team they were in New Jersey. They had a little parade for them, this week for making it. So it's all the college sports gives you that, but with the playoffs is a lot of fun, but. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Kickoffs or a kickoff tip-off is in about an hour. See, I got football on my mind, but it'll be fun to watch tonight. So, any other sports
You'll
has been quiet? What do you got? Sorry, bud.
You'll have to text me in the morning the score, or I'll have to look it up. I'll be fast asleep by then. Yeah.
Don't flip it on, man, and it's just like you'll get into it. You like basketball? You'll definitely. It's fast-paced. College basketball is fast-paced, a little bit more than the NBA, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, I wanted to bring up baseball for a minute. Did you see what happened with what Brian Cashman said this week with the Yankees?
I know there was a little bit of a scandal still with him in Houston, and maybe some cheating going on. I think there's still some questions about that.
There is. Well, let's talk about Houston and how they won in 2017. Remember, they were stealing signals. And they had, microphones and earpieces that they were, telling, the batters what pitch was coming, right? So, kind of like a Donnie Brasco thing where they were wired up, So, anyway, Brian Cashman comes out and says, hey, the Yankees, my Yankees, are the real 2017 American League champions, right? And he was pretty serious about it. It was funny he was still harping on this 5 years later. And I agree, there was no real ramifications that came out of that. We got screwed on the deal. But the irony is with Carlos Beltran is now he's announcing on Yes Network for the Yankees. And Aaron Judge came out and said, look, Carlos Beltran doesn't have to answer to any questions about those shenanigans that occurred 5 years ago. So it's like, I found it funny that Cashman brought that up after 5 years. But to have Judge intervene with that whole thing when Judge is in a contract situation and we still don't have him signed yet, I just found that to be kind of an odd mix going on.
Yeah. Well, that whole thing with the scandal. I mean, I think the Rays fell victim to it. I mean, they put it. I think it was either that season or before. They gave us a beating. And you can never win. When it was a home game for them, and it was always weird that how the averages, everything changed. So I've never played baseball professionally, but I have played. And if you know what pitch is coming, it does make it a little bit easier on you.
Yeah. So I just thought that was funny this week. And you know what? I agree with them. They stole it from us with those shenanigans. That's our pennant from 2017. Bring it back to the Bronx, baby.
Bring it back to the Bronx, hang it up in the Raptors. That's what happens. So I saw the other things. You guys made a couple other trades. What other? The Yankees are being pretty busy. They trying to make some moves.
Yeah, we have 4 catchers. Hey, we got Trevino from
yeah. No, he comments on my hype video, so I gotta wish him all the best, and hopefully he does well in the Bronx. He's kind of gotten to the point. Is he got to have a shot to be a starter, or is he gonna be more the backup catcher for him?
No, I think it's. Like I said, we got 4 catchers right now on roster in spring training. So that's a good question. I think he's going to be in a backup catcher.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. I'm really glad Gary Sanchez is gone. I thought he came out, killing it his first season, but then his second season in, I distinctly remember sitting there. He hit a grounder down third base, hot dogged it, guy bobbled it at third, and had Sanchez been running it out, it would have been, you've been on. It was 9th inning. We could have won. It was a one run game, and I've never liked him since then. So him packing it up and get out of the Bronx was fine with me, right?
And he was a defensive liability, if my memory. Am I thinking of the right guy? Okay.
Oh yeah, it was so many pass ball. It was ridiculous. So and we, like I said, we have 4 catchers. We'll figure out who to start. Like Trevino's backup. We just got a strong team going this year. Garrett Colligan, pitching. We got hell of an offense. With LeMayo and Gallo and Rizzo. It was just outrageous offense. So we'll see what happens.
I saw I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said a lot of people are questioning where we're going to be this year, but everybody stays healthy, I think we're going to be fine. I think we're going to take the East and go further.
Yeah, I saw the Mets. I grew up a Mets fan. They're both their pitchers are top pitchers to grow. I mean, they're already hurt. So
yeah, they're already hurt.
It started off real good for them already. So, but baseball's such a long season, man. It's just it's a game of attrition, and can you survive? And that's what I always with the Rays. Living in Tampa now, we do follow them a little bit more. It's amazing how well they've been able to compete with the limited, finances. I mean, they've really done well building, their farm system, a lot of young talent. So it's interesting to see how you get these teams that, and that's why they say in the NFL, well, if you had the, unlimited cap, it'd always be the same 2 or 3 teams. It's not necessarily always true. It doesn't hurt. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but baseball has kind of proven that some of these small market teams can compete with the Yankees and the Red Sox and some of these big time teams.
It's funny you were talking about the Rays, because it wasn't too long ago they were talking some crazy nonsense about splitting time between Tampa and Montreal, and I said that's absurd. But it sounded like it was pretty legit for a while.
Oh no, it was supposed to be done, and then they pulled the plug on it. But it was supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen. What? They don't draw.
And forgot all about Montreal. Right? No, but that's the thing, and it sucks when they don't draw. On paper, it looks great, but that would be strange to have a team having 2 home stadiums. I think it's a unique idea, and maybe it works because of all the snowbirds that come down there. I don't know, but I guess it ain't happening.
Well, the thought is less games. They might get more people to go to games here, and then less games up there. Maybe they'd be more, rather than a casual fan. Yeah, I'll go. They go to 3 or 4 games a year. Maybe that you shrink that down. Maybe they'd go to more, and it brings some intrigue to them. But the problem with Florida, and I mean, is Florida's primarily a football state. Now I say that hockey's been successful here, and they do draw well. But for some reason, baseball is the only thing I can say is baseball's the fans are so loyal. From Cubs, I mean, it's generations, and Red Sox and all that. And baseball is very new. It would take generations. It's like my kids and their kids. That's kind of when the Rays could probably get success. You see it in the Marlins built that beautiful stadium. They don't draw nothing. I mean, they built it in Little Havana because that's when everything was put it there. The Cubans, they love baseball. Well, it'll be successful and it'll be better. And it's a beautiful stadium, but they don't draw. And the same in Tampa. They're like, well, put it downtown. Right now it's in St. Pete. You go to the other side of the bay, put it in downtown Tampa. They'll draw better, but I don't know if it will because they draw well with the Yankees. They draw well with the Red Sox. They draw well when the Mets come, when the Cubs, all the big historic teams that have these generational fan bases, the Braves and stuff. But they just don't draw. They just can't continually draw well, and they put together a winning product for, season in and season out.
And you know what? It's sad to say, but you're right. You look at some of the Marlins games or the Rays. I mean, if you go up in the 300 section and blow a bomb off, not one person would get hurt. Nobody's there.
No.
And it's sad because they are nice, beautiful stadiums. That stadium in Miami is beautiful. And they did the right thing with the retractable roof. It's 6,000 degrees out in July, and it rains every day. And it's too bad,
But it's been a long time since they were in, old Joe Robbie in the inaugural season in 93 when me and my buddy Fish jumped over the fence and ran across the field.
You're very familiar with that stadium. Yeah.
I know the layout of that stadium very well. I know where the holding cell is too, where they ended up throwing us in. So things you do before while you're under 18, because I'll tell you this, I had the smarts. I knew I was under 18. I wasn't gonna get arrested. They were gonna kind of take my picture and kick me out and tell me never to come back again. So we had a lot of fun down there.
Yeah, that. Speaking of throwing, right? But we won't talk about that part. But like you said, you gotta have smarts.
You gotta know how the game is played, man.
Be a thinker, not a stinker.
That's right.
But
yeah, so yeah, and then baseball will get going, and we'll touch on it. It's such a long season, it's hard to really kind of get in too deep in the weeds of it. But it's good to see baseball back. If you're just if you're a sports fan, they had that holdout. I think if they would have prolonged it, if it would have broke into the season, it would have done some damage. I think they're having a hard enough time keeping that fan base because the young kids. They play baseball as a kid, but as they get older, they kind of drift away from it. Baseball is not the most exciting game to watch, and these kids, everything's fast paced. That's why basketball is so huge with the youth. They love it. It's exciting. You can market it very well. The NBA does a great job on social media marketing the NBA, and NFL is the NFL. They're the kings, and as long as they do gambling, it's always going to remain that way.
Well, speaking of excitement, how about the Lakers, who are now on the outside looking in? Lost 6 in a row.
6
LeBron
in a row.
James,
so they're not even in the play-in right now.
No, they're not in the play-in. They've lost 6 in a row. James missed 3 of the games, but he's coming out with, the bounces aren't going our way and this and that. No, you guys just aren't that good.
They're just old.
They're old, exactly, and so they're out. I mean, the Pelicans and Spurs, unless there's a miracle, the Pelicans and Spurs are in. The Lakers are in turmoil right now.
Wow. I mean, that doesn't do good for the legacy, not to make the playoffs, and when they're allowing 10 teams, and you can't even make the play-in. But that'll lead us to one of our shows that we're working on, and it's gonna, we're gonna give Jimmy D the opportunity to have the great debate between LeBron, is he the GOAT? We always, of course, we're that era of Michael Jordan. So Michael Jordan's always going to be the GOAT to me. I've never seen a better competitor. He was a killer. And I personally don't see that with LeBron. So.
And I'm a Knicks fan who couldn't stand Michael Jordan as a player. He broke my heart. But you know what? I still respect him. He was just that damn good. And he backed it up. And he did more of his talking on the court than out of his mouth on the mic, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's
but
a killer.
Talking about basketball, a week ago we were talking about the Heat slipping. All of a sudden, guess what? They turned it around. They had a big win against the Celtics. Won, I think, 3 or 4 in a row now. I told you, you're not gonna have to worry about them. They're gonna.
Well, my son, his concern, and I'll lean on you to educate me. His big concern is where they're at. There's a possibility they can end up playing Brooklyn in the first round, and he does not think that's an ideal matchup to have to face them in the first round.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Remember, Kyrie Irving missed a lot of games because of the vaccine rules in New York. Him and Durant, and you know what? It's hard to tell if that's really the case because you don't know exactly where the Nets are going to end up. They're just in the play-ins right now, so you don't know how it's going to work out. And you know what? He has a good point. That was a good point that he made, but I don't know. I think you just play to win. You play for home court advantage, and that's all you do, And
you'd have to play them eventually, right? If you're going to get to the finals, you got to beat these teams eventually. So you might as well get it done, and then maybe your second round matchup's a little bit easier.
I'm more worried about the 76ers right now. If I'm in the East, they're a good team, man. They really are. The Heat again. They're just that damn good. They had a week and a half where they weren't playing that well. They're back in business again. But the 76ers are just that good. So that's
I don't want no one from Philly winning nothing.
Well, neither do I.
It's
a dump. We know it's a dump. It's filthy. The fans are disgusting. We agree on that, but I kind of got to be real about it this time.
No.
And hopefully I'm right. Hey, at least the Flyers suck. That I'm happy about. That was one of the other Philly teams suck.
Yeah.
And
if there's one Philly team's good, let it be them. As long as it's not the Eagles, and for you, as long as it's not the Flyers, I could care less.
Right, because it was never that with the 76ers never really clashed with the Knicks, so that's not really a big thing. It was like either Eagles and Cowboys or the Flyers and the Rangers are always with the big matchups. And we actually had some fans at one of the outdoor games a few years ago down in Philly. They had a killing a couple of our fans outside the game. People are.
It don't make. I mean, it don't make no sense. So, but
no, it does.
But yeah, so I mean that's really there's not a I went through my thoughts and went through all my I jotted down a couple notes. I don't think I'm missing anything. Is there any other topics that we missed that you want to touch base on tonight?
Yeah, just to round things out, talking a little hockey.
Mhm.
Nathan McKinnon, you see his names I'm gonna throw out. You probably don't know. Nathan McKinnon, one of the best players in the game, gets into a fight last week. Hurts his hand pretty well. They thought it was worse than it was. He only missed a game or two, but it gets back to this rule they put in a few years ago with fighting. Used to have enforcers back in the days.
Yeah.
So you get a guy like, whether it's Connor McDavid or Nathan McKinnon or whomever, somebody comes after him. Well, you got the goon on the teams that can come kick your ass. Well, because of the new rules, that it doesn't work like that quite anymore, and it just pisses me off. And they're worried about fights. Look, man, people watch NASCAR for racing, but they watch it for crashes. Hockey, people watch it for the skill in the game, but I love a good fight, and especially when it's part of protecting your best player. You need that stupid third man in rule and instigator rule, ridiculous. And Gary Bettman's done a lot as a commissioner for the league, but that's one rule that needs to be dealt with is that damn allow the goon on your team, the enforcer, to come out and take care of business for your superstars so those guys don't get hurt.
Yeah. Well, I wish I could comment on it, Jimmy D, but the only enforcer I know is AA. Arn Anderson.
That's right.
The only enforcer I ever heard of.
That's right.
So, but no, but I did.
You saw what he perpetrated on AA, baby.
I did watch a little bit of WrestleMania. I didn't get a lot. My daughter loved. She was into it, and it's 2 nights. It's too much for me now. I missed it back in the day when it was it was 3 hours, whatever it was. But now it's a really big spectacle. It wasn't at AT&T, so it was kind of cool. But there was some good matches, and but I will say, just leaving it at this, the thing that I miss with wrestling and is the drama, the storylines, and more importantly the promos. And I mean, you guys, people know me. You seen the hype videos. That's old school wrestling being unleashed for Cowboys Nation, and it's just different. I kind of I miss those days.
If you and I'll talk a couple things about wrestling. AEW is what I watch anymore. Now, of course, I know what's going on with WWE, but AEW is on live on Wednesdays. It's on tape delay Fridays. They have storylines. It's good. They kind of overloaded their roster because the owner tried to sign every person that the WWE was releasing, but they have the best heel in wrestling right now. MJF is one of the most brutal, one of the best on the mic as a heel, and just says things that I'm shocked that they allow on TV. Not vulgarity, just really, really
towing the line.
Towing the line. But getting back to WrestleMania, so Cody Rhodes shows up from AEW, who was the first guy to defect back. Stone Cold shows up for the first time in 15 years, and he looked pretty good. A little winded, but hey, his age, was pretty good for an older guy.
Pretty good for a bigger guy.
But no, they put on a great show, and Vince McMahon again is a genius. Logan Paul, I mean, that was
smart.
all over social media.
Yeah,
I was even caught up in that.
Yeah,
our producer Dom say, Dad, he kept showing me all the highlights. It's amazing. So
no, and what's really cool is the women's division. I mean, I watched, I know her as the man, but now she's something else. She changed her name. Not Ronda Rousey, the one who was the champion. I forgot her name. She was the man. Then she took a hiatus. I can't remember her name. But now she's kind of a heel now. And she was wrestling the girl with the big ponytail. See, I don't know a whole lot about these newer people, but it was a great match. It was a great match. And, it was entertaining. So, it's there. It's just I'm more the storyline. So I'm that old school wrestling with, that's what I mean, when you really thought, as a kid, I remember we thought it was real. I'll never forget when Andre the Giant and Hogan turned on Hogan and he ripped his chain. My brother and I were like, what the hell's going on, man? How can you do this to Hulk Hogan? You cried as a kid. Like, how could this happen?
And Hogan was crying.
Yeah. What? They sold it so well that it was just, it was really cool, but it's just different now. And, but I long for those days. It was good times.
That was fun. Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes. I mean, they sold that too. I mean, Crimson Mask, remember?
Yeah.
The cage,
Yep.
blood all over the place and all that. I mean, but like you
Yeah.
said, I mean, storylines and promos. That's kind of what attracts me to AEW on Wednesday nights because, honestly, that is what I'm watching Wednesday nights. No matter what other game is on, when the commercial's on, I'll flip to the other channel. But that's what I'm watching on Wednesdays because it's fun. It's funnier than hell. My wife's upstairs. She said, "Damn, man, she can hear me laughing down here and cracking up." So
I have to give that one. I have to give that one a listen. But the problem is Wednesdays like our worst nights. I got Survivor. I've got Chicago PD. I got Chicago Fire. I mean, that's a night my wife and I
DVR.
all the. Yeah, I know. I gotta. There's so many things. I just started watching that. Not they take too long, but I'll be quick with it. We got to check out of here. But the Lakers. I started watching that Lakers series. My brother told me it was really good, so I watched 2 episodes. Last night. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a HBO special, but you can get it on any streaming service. But it's really good. It's well put together, well produced. The guy from Step Brother plays Bus, and I mean he does phenomenal job. And everyone thought they have Jerry. Jerry West was a coach, and I didn't even know he was a coach of the Lakers back in the early '80s. But I mean he was such a He was such a red ass man. He's just an ornery, crotchety guy. So, but it'll be interesting. But it's a great show. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend you check it out.
I'll have to do that. Just not on Wednesday nights.
Say what?
Just not on Wednesdays.
No, you can watch it whenever you want. Like I said, you got streaming services. There's a lot out there. You can check it out and watch it. Watch it your leisure. So, but anyway. Next week, we will be back. We're going to be doing our draft show. So it's going to be 100% football. We're focused on the draft. Get this thing rolling. Hopefully, like I said, my Cowboys, we got to make some stuff with this draft because we got to step our game up a little bit. We've lost some pieces. We got to replace them quickly. And I know Jimmy D's looking to rebuild them Falcons. We'll see what happens. Might be a rough year for you, but maybe you guys can pull out one of them quarterbacks or something.
Well, that's where I need advice from J-Tuck. When I make the phone call down to Arthur Blanks and Terry Fontenot, hey, I got advice from a real professional. You guys need to listen to this and make these drafts.
And that's what we're going to be there for you guys. So make sure you check it out live. Make sure you comment. We'll be answering your questions. We'll be giving you some of the thoughts on the draft. And again, like, subscribe, check us out on Spotify, Tag Nation on Facebook page. You see the Twitter handles on both of us. Interact. We love interacting with the fans. I do, especially Cowboys Nation. So until next Monday, unless something crazy happens, you guys have a great week. Have a great weekend. Peace out. See you.